Hi, this is the video for Wednesday, January 6th for 11th grade English. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video because I'm going to try, if you're watching this video, to model for you what we did in class through a full practice of a précis. A précis is going to be the final that you perform, and I want you to feel really good about knowing what to do and how to do it. So this will be a key video for me explaining those steps. I am starting here with the agenda. I have slides for the new unit. It's not important for the video, but I have them there. And then we look through one more example of a précis done in full before we started our own. We did our own practice with Cabinet Battle number 1 from Hamilton. So your classmates listen to the battle first, listen to the lyrics, establish the main ideas. What are the points that these gentlemen are making? And then piece by piece, your classmates worked on each sentence of the précis. It was a lot of quiet time in class where people were working on a sentence, sending it to me or the whole class, and then we were reading them and sharing them out loud. And then at the end, the stem is Jefferson and Hamilton fought. So that's you reflecting to me that you understand the spirit of the song, which would be revealed in your précis, but I want both pieces of practice. Okay, so that's what we did. Let's get over to the précis. Okay, so here is the précis that we will use for the practice today. Reminder, a précis is a 4-sentence analysis paragraph that contains summary. They go through and very clearly define the name of the work, what the work is trying to do, who the work is for, and the major claim of the work. Here's an example using middle passage. So sentence 1 introduces the author, the work, and the major claim. Robert Hayden, in his epic poem Middle Passage, affirms that the deep immortal human wish cannot be put down and cannot be enslaved. People in chains will always find a way to break free, no matter the cost. Work, author, claim. The second sentence here has an explanation of how the author develops that thesis. So, Hayden reveals many instances of rebellion where one enslaved captive leaps with crazy laughter to the waiting sharks, and where a crew member trembles that you cannot stare that hatred down, showing time and time again that the human cargo on board these slave ships is not cargo at all, but humanity. Sentence 2. Sentence 3 should have a statement of the author's apparent purpose, followed by in order to. So, the purpose of these repeated examples culminates in the story of the Amistad, which he writes in order to reveal the fullness of the timeless will for freedom. Lastly, sentence 4 should be a description of the audience. Hayden writes this piece as an empowering but brutally honest piece for the members of his generation who have forgotten the horrors and atrocities of the slave trade. So, example paragraph, and then with the rest of class, we are going to do our very own using Cabinet Battle number 1. Okay, so first, in order to do this, we'll open up the lyrics. Here's a big thing I want you to take away from today. In order to write a good précis, you have got to really know your text. I'm not going to write this paragraph out of my mind. My mind is limited. I'm going to write this as a reaction to the text in front of me. So always trying to look at the text to find out what is it that the text is saying. And so I'm not going to play it because I'm afraid of copyright, but I'm basically going to focus on some of the major sections where we're going to find our main ideas. Jefferson debates Hamilton. He says, if the shoe fits, wear it. If New York's in debt, why should Virginia bear it? Our debts are paid, I'm afraid. Don't tax the South because we got it made in the shade. In Virginia, we plant seeds in the ground. We create. You just want to move our money around. This financial plan is an outrageous demand, and it's too many damn pages for any man to understand. Stand with me in the land of the free, and pray to God we never see Hamilton's candidacy. Look, when Britain taxed our tea, we got frisky. Imagine what's going to happen when you try to tax our whiskey. George Washington says, thank you, Secretary Jefferson. Hamilton, your response. Response from Hamilton. Thomas, that was a real nice declaration. Welcome to the present. We're running a real nation. Would you like to join us or stay mellow doing whatever the hell it is you do in Monticello? If we assume the debts, the Union gets a new line of credit, a financial diuretic. How do you not get it? If we're aggressive and competitive, the Union gets a boost. You'd rather give it a sedative. A civics lesson from a slaver, hey neighbor. Your debts are paid because you don't pay for labor. We plant seeds in the South, we create, yeah, keep ranting. We know who's really doing the planting. I'm going to stop there because we've gotten the core of the argument. So Jefferson is saying we don't want to assume the debt of the nation. Virginia doesn't have any debt, and we'd like to keep it that way. It's not our problem what other states are doing. Virginia will have its own government. Hamilton is saying we have to assume the debts of all of the states. The Union, the federal government, the federal union, needs that boost because it would have all of the capital from states that are performing well and states that aren't. We would be a true union of states. So what you have here is Jefferson arguing states' rights, state allegiance, and Hamilton is arguing federal government, federal allegiance. These are the seeds of the Civil War. The Civil War is about the states' rights for slaves. That's what it's fought about. The states who wanted to keep the slaves versus the states who said you cannot. We need to abolish this system. We need a federal mandate. That was the argument that ended up creating the war, which we'll cover in this unit. But you see it here beginning. The idea that the states should get to do whatever they want versus the states having to report to some federal mandates and federal, in this case, organizations like a central bank. All right, so what does that mean? Well, I'm just trying to make sense of the text, because if I don't, it's going to be very hard for me to make a claim. The first sentence of the précis is the author, genre, and title of work. So I've decided to write, and we were going to do it all together, but I ended up taking on a lot of it, and then students helped me for reasons of checking out the news today during class as well, unexpectedly. So I wrote, Lin-Manuel Miranda in the musical Hamilton shows that Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton were fiercely opposed on the matter of whether to create a strong central bank or vest that power and those financial resources to states. That's my claim. Well, it's the claim I found in the text. Hamilton's written by Miranda, so Miranda is the author. The text is called Hamilton, and he is showing or trying to make the claim that Jefferson and Hamilton are fighting about these things. And he's right. I mean, Miranda is writing this as a kind of historical treatise, so it's not necessarily a persuasive argument. But we'll get into why he is kind of persuading us nonetheless. The second sentence needs to be, how is he supporting his thesis? And so I wrote, Miranda supports this thesis by Hamilton arguing with Jefferson about, for example, the reliance of the Southern economy on slaves as one of their states' rights. He taunts Jefferson by saying, your debts are paid because you don't pay for labor. That second sentence, I decided to use a quote. I think wherever you can, use a quote to explain what you mean. It really helps bring life to your paragraph. The third sentence is about author's purpose. And so I need to clearly show what is the author's purpose, what is he doing in this case, in order to accomplish what? Use the words in order to. The author's purpose is to persuade Americans that Hamilton, while hot-tempered and unlikable to Jefferson and other Southerners, was on the right side of history in order to make a larger point about the unethical stance on slavery in the battle for states' rights. Lastly, your last sentence needs to address the audience. I've already kind of hinted at that by saying he's trying to persuade Americans, but I'm going to make it a little more specific. The audience for this text is modern Americans who may have lost a sense of the nuance around our early history and need colorful, engaging lessons on how the divisions in our country began. So, another précis. We can go back and just make sure we've managed the structure well. And that's at the top of the doc. Sentence 1, name the author, the text, name a clause containing the major assertion or claim that's in the text. I feel like I've done that. Sentence 2, an explanation of how they developed the thesis. Yes, I feel like I've done that. Sentence 3, a statement of the author's apparent purpose, followed by in order to. Yes, I've tried to do that. And lastly, sentence 4, a description of the intended audience. Yeah. So it's a good précis in terms of its structure. All right, so you at home, you don't need to do that on your own. Copy and paste, please, this document, this paragraph to your own big Google Doc. Why? Well, when you get to write your own précis, I want you to have a really clear model right there at your fingertips. It's the best way to perform well on this, is to have a model. And I don't want you to have to go finding it in 5 different places. So if you're watching this video, you have access to the agenda. This is linked to the agenda. It's cabinet battle number 1 on the agenda. Find it, go to the yellow paragraph, copy paste into your BGD. Not cognitive work, but it will take you a couple of minutes. And now your STEM. For today, Jefferson and Hamilton fought. That's your little STEM. Expand it into your larger thought. That should be relatively easy if you've just listened to this whole video, because I've given you a lot of ideas about what they fought about. And that's all. Tomorrow we'll launch into the Civil War in full with content. Thank you so much.